Hold on. Let me push the button. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room. This is a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. First thing we should do every morning when the show starts is start off with a little music. The song we've chosen is Edwin Starr's War. I don't always I don't always start it off right, but this morning, okay, I had a deep think. I probably overthought it, but we're gonna talk about it off rip. Uh, so I made a piece of content yesterday about Mike Johnson admitting they lied about Donald Trump being an FBI informant, and that smells like Cash Patel. So if anybody ever wondered what in the world is going on with uh, Donald Trump, I think the reasons that he would want to be an informant and the reasons that people become informants line up with what Donald Trump is asking for. So, in case you hadn't quite thought it through, because I know how a lot of people, including myself, are starting to normalize all of this. And so, let's address the elephant in the room, what I'm really getting after. I was making a video this morning and I called Gaza Israel, and I had to fucking reshoot that video. And I say free Palestine all day, every day. And I feel like I've done a really good job of not normalizing what is happening. And keep in mind, I was saying that like Donald Trump's whole goal is to escape with money and go to Gaza and build a villa and again have the protection of Israel. And I'm assuming the U.S. military builds a base there. And then Donald Trump has a golf course resort right next to a military base in a hot zone. Is it wise? No. I would never do that in a million years. And that's me thinking as like a rational human being. I would not put US military in that area ever. They're in an infinite amount of danger. Just want to make sure we point that out. That is a very unwise decision. In fact, most military action is unwise. I'll continue to beat that drum, especially when some people are going to be held accountable for the murder of those 11 people in international waters. And the way I think about it, again, is that the UCMJ applies. If you're wondering why it's slow moving, we called it Justice's Waiting Room. I show up every day, 90 minutes, and what have we said every single day? Every single day, we're vindicated for being here, for doing this, and here's where we were vindicated yesterday. Republicans don't normally admit that they lie. Face it. Normally, they lie to your face, and then they just lie some more, and we just have to take it. And I think that it's a tipping point, and I think Cash Patel is the reason Mike Johnson backed off and said that he lied about Donald Trump being an informant. But the reasons that you would want to be an informant are because you get leniency. This means that you are effectively immediately admitting to committing a crime because the reason that you would want to be an informant is because you're party to crime. Fuck! So that's stupid, Don. And then also monetary. a lot of times when people become informants, they get paid to do it. Hell yeah, Donald Trump wants to extort the fucking Department of Justice too, right? The FBI too. He wants to fucking extort them too. He's got away with everything else. Why not try to extort the feds? Um, I'm just spitballing here. Okay. Yeah, yeah. He's a alcoholic. It's an alcoholic rage talking. It's somebody. Hey, here's what we learned while we were on active duty. Okay, when you have socialism, and I'm just talking about not not the shooty bang bang, not the work part. I'm talking about outside of work. Okay, you basically got paid like 3 or 4 grand a month, kind of depending on your rank. But you didn't have to pay rent or for food or for housing or utilities. You didn't have the only thing you had to pay for was your cell phone. I'm telling you, what was life like with socialism, Jared? Uh, we tried not to drink too much because we had to be somewhere because we had a job. Tried to heal up, take care of your body. Lots of guys walked around with ice packs on and fucking sat on heating pads and nowadays with advances in technology, being in the military wouldn't be so bad because you could have one of those the muscle rollers. You know what I'm talking about? The little massages your muscles and shit. It'd be easier to get rid of soreness, and that's the primary reason. For the record, pain is a big reason why people get out of the military. Is because they're just banged up. Because like you're you're a rough and tumble person. You know what I mean? That's what being in the military is. Um, but when you have socialism and you realize that you have choices, we could blow our money on food and alcohol and getting ourselves out of trouble, right? Or I travel. That's what I like to do. So we went and saw stuff. Um, went and stood around and looked at a silo. I don't know if you remember that story or if I've told it to you. I saw the one of the top 10 most haunted places in the country. It's this silo in North Carolina. Has anybody heard about it? It's like a whispering silo or some shit. Um, I can't remember. I have terrible memories. This is 20 years ago. I could make making this up. It could not be one of the most haunted places in the world. It didn't feel if it didn't feel haunted. It just felt like the wind blew across the top of the silo funny and it made noises. And the wind blew within the silo and it did funny things like with a chair. But did it made me think that like there are ghosts or extraterrestrial? No. Nope. The craziest thing you'll ever realize is that you really are that alone. There aren't ghosts, there aren't aliens, it's just me and you. Telling you, I'm telling you. Okay? Um yeah. But like as someone that like understands physics and math, you just walk into that silo and you're like, "What's the haunted part?" Oh, if you wait, when you enter, okay, so once the doors open to the silo and it's empty, and it shouldn't be empty. It should be full of fucking wheat and shit. So keep that in mind. When it's empty and you put a chair in the middle of the room and you walk in and a bunch of wind rushes in behind you when you do the sides of the silo will start to vibrate and people ooh and then you'll notice that there's a stairs going up around the inside of the silo wall. And so you walk up the silo wall stairs. And as again, I want to talk about like you opened a door, you've ushered in a bunch of wind, and then you all move towards the railing, and it starts the wind kind of a swirling around. And I'm dead ass. the silo's open top, and if it gets fucking windy at all, hell yeah, the fucking sides of that shit rattle, and the fucking wind starts swirling, and it makes like a little tornado, and it spins the chair, and the chair goes, lifts up and down, and people ooh ah thinks there's fucking ghosts and shit, and you walk up to the top of the stairs, and and they're like, you can hear the cries of the children, and at this point, I'm like, oh my fucking god! And people pay $50 for this? Like, oh my fucking god! And I'm like, it's just wind shear, you fucking clowns. Like, that's not anybody hollering. Oh my god, this was 50 fucking dollars. I drove 2.5 hours. I'm on active duty, you fucking idiot. Like, this was a waste of money, unnecessarily dangerous, and what a fucking sham. And my friends are like, the girls are with slapping me. Stop it! Stop it! Like, oh yeah. Jesus Christ. So, hey, hey, and there was a lot of people that left pissed. Pissed. I'm that person. I will ruin it for everyone. You do understand? I can only suspend my disbelief so far. So far. Until I'm like, no, there's a logical explanation for that. And keep in mind, understand that I have always been told to shut the fuck up. So if there ever is ever a question, why the fuck did you start a podcast? Because my entire life, I would try to be like the reasonable human being in the room that tried to like explain things normally, and I was like, nah, they're throwing tomatoes at me, like, oh no, no, we want the ghosts, and we want haunted, and it's the realest shit I've ever said. It's not haunted. There aren't ghosts or aliens. It requires you to suspend your disbelief. I could go to a haunted house, like the ones you gotta pay for, and there's actors and shit, and I'm thrilled. And I'm always like, oh my god, your makeup's so good. Like, great job. Or like, it'll be the girl in the all white, and she's hunched over and she's playing the piano, and I'm like, that would fuck my neck up. And making them laugh and break character. And like those when they jump out in front of you with a chainsaw, and I grew up in the woods, and immediately I'm like, your chainsaw doesn't have a chain on it. And I'm like, thank God. And the guy's like laughing at me. And he's like, I'll still hit you with it. And I was like, yeah, but if you do, it's more likely to like break the blade because it doesn't have the thing on it. And it's not like it's going to grind through my skin. It's not moving like that. So it's just like a stabby McStab that weighs like 30 pounds. And the guy was like, ugh. So I can suspend my disbelief, but it only goes so far, right? Thanks you, Myrtelina. Thank you. Somebody left me a message. Streaming, how's streaming going? Well, this is a live podcast, so anyway. So the requirement that you must suspend your disbelief, right? You can't try to think your way through this. You just gotta live, right? It's too many people have just let Jesus take the wheel, right? Like they have just when you hear people that are like fully bought into aliens, fully bought into ghosts, do you not hear yourselves? Do you know who wrote about ghosts that was like super famous? Van Gogh. Do you know, right? Am I wrong? Was Van Gogh the writer or the artist? No, he's a painter, right? Van Gogh was a horrible alcoholic. His paintings featured ghosts. Alcoholism, heart disease is one of the major killers in the United States. People straight up die because they drink too much. And when you drink and you do drugs and shit, you hallucinate. You have delusions of grandeur. It becomes habitual. Morning, Bob. So yeah, if there are anyone watching this ever that's like a lawyer or a law enforcement officer and you want to correct me, I want to be corrected. So I posted something this morning where I'm saying like Donald Trump using Mike Johnson to out himself as an informant, even though they said we lied about that, it's very telling because it tells me that Donald Trump wants compensation, he wants leniency, he wants protection, right? Because remember, he wants to get away with it, take all the money, and go build a villa in Gaza. Free Palestine, right? Uh, like I said, I had to reshoot the video this morning because when I said that stuff, I said he wants to build a villa in Israel. And immediately I was like, oh, no! I fucking normalized this shit. No, fuck that. So I had to reshoot like a 9-minute video and it be bar for bar. Man, I gotta really I'm impressed with myself. I don't storyboard, I don't write, I don't rehearse. It is what it is. Um, One of the things I've chosen to do is to not obviously not let the hate float through you. That's almost what I said. Not let the hate flow through me and just like say what I mean to say and not mince my words. It's part of the benefit of just not having. I don't have to say things. I don't have to mince my words. I'm not corporate backed. I'm not. I didn't take it. I'm not a Democrat, right? Remember, I want to continue to point out the reason that no one I know ever called themselves a Republican or Democrat is because both those parties define themselves on withholding the rule of law. That's like the whole thing about the commonality between Democratic and Republican parties are rule of law. And what it's become is crony capitalism. And so it's the rich people and the people willing to cater to the rich that are having a good time, and everyone else is gonna have a bad time. That's the way the U.S. government works now. And if it ever feels like, man, the U.S. is awfully pro-Russia, that's because half of your elected officials take money from Russia. If you ever feel like, man, well, if we're not pro-Russia, then we're pro-Israel, and yeah, that's because the U.S. Gives a lot of money to Israel, and that's because, keep in mind, I think almost I think like 2/3 of Republicans are AIPAC members, so it's not like only Democrats are AIPAC members. I want to continue to point this out. Okay, I don't know why I called it AIPAC, but you could package AI with APAC and just let it all go. But yeah, good morning everybody. Gabby, Dina, Angie, Stacy, Bob, Mike, what's up, mate? Danielle, morning, everybody. I think the top story of the day: Israeli Supreme Court says Israel deprives Palestinian prisoners of food. I want to make sure that I point out. Want to continue to point out. Okay, that this is Israel's Supreme Court admitting that they are starving Palestinians, and to me signals a cry for help from the International Criminal Court to intervene. This is them saying they're we are starving Palestinians. That's what the Supreme It's a rare ruling. And again, I want to continue to point out Mike Johnson admitted yesterday that they lied about Donald Trump being an FBI informant, and also Israel's Supreme Court issued a ruling that said that Israel is starving Palestinians. I mean, not giving them enough food, which again I would say that is starving them. Um, and is a cry for help from the International Criminal Court because clearly the Supreme Court can't stop the IDF from doing what they're doing, right? Wild, wild times, my friends. Why did I not read? It's a great question, Gabby. Mike said I went to a Palestinian Dab Key fundraising event for USPCN last night. What's USPCN? The U.S. Palestinian Community Network. So thanks, Bob, for bringing that up in our chat. We'll go ahead and throw a link out. So what they're doing is the current administration has put the fences up, right? And so what they're requiring in order for them to take Donald Trump or Bibi is they have a personal military. So I know that the question keeps coming up, but my answer is going to continue to be the same. And I'm sorry, but it's because they have private armies protecting them even while they sleep. And so it's going to require assets in order to take them down. And it's going to have to be open and shut. Can keep in mind, Bibi already has charges. Putin already has charges on him. So if your question's about Trump, I would point you to all of the legislation that Republicans have passed to make themselves immune. And I want to continue to point out that you should not be able to do that. Part of the reason that I don't call myself a Democrat or a Republican is because democracy is fucking broken. When the people in power can get into power and make themselves immune, Donald Trump has basically put the fucking fences up. The fences up outside the White House are the same kinds that he writes in executive orders, which forbids certain hotels from hosting ICC judges and shit. It's because they're rolling with a small group of people, and they've got private armies with them that aren't just gonna let them go. You know what I mean? We say that. We say that. We'll see. So far, I feel like the Constitution is holding, and that makes it good. And that if it holds and people are held accountable, and we can fix it, I'm on that. I'm on board with that. I just don't believe it. Do you get what I'm saying? If we think that democracy is amenable, I'm here for that. But I'm not a Democrat. I've moved on to we need universal health care, education, income, and housing. We need a pro worker party. We need a pro union party. We need people to join a union. And we need people to really do some deep introspection about just bigotry on the whole. We need to be as inclusive as possible. Mhm. There's a reason that I don't make anti-Trump, anti-Trumper content. I don't highlight comments. I don't I don't get comments. I get no notes. You get what I'm saying? So when we talk about people not being immune from the Constitution, remember we don't prosecute the president because of a memo, right? I functionally think that your democracy is broken when you don't take legal action due to a memo, something written on a napkin, which is what it is. The reason that Donald Trump's not being held accountable is because of a piece of paper. The reason people die is because of a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Now, people have died for it. I don't know what's going on with this Tom Phillips, but it's all over the news. Times got an article. Well, this is Eastern Times in New Zealand. No, it's Arizona. Auckland. This is in New Zealand. Okay, now I'm starting to understand. Here's an article from the BBC where unions are warning their government not to water down their workers' rights bill. I mean, yeah, there was a horrible shooting in Jerusalem. There was at least 6 people were shot dead at Jerusalem's Rameau Junction on Monday. All right, so here's uh, or there's a reason that I always think about, even if we don't talk about it, there's always a reason to read the articles, kids. So as someone that I read while we're on the show, so that I'm not just a headline reader, right? I'm when I come to you and I say, "Hey, check this out." It's a bus station shooting in Israel, okay? And think about being like the speaker for the people, okay? Visiting the scene, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "We are at war. A fierce war against terrorism on all fronts. We are fighting terrorism," so twice. The terrorist, 3 times. Regime of the Houthi, Iran that backs everyone in Gaza, Lebanon, Hezbollah, and all sectors. We are not letting up and will not let up. We are nailing our actions. We will achieve all our goals. We are now pursuing and surrounding the villages from whence the murderers came. We will catch everyone who helped them, everyone who sent them. Is that how we want our leaders responding to a mass shooting? Do you not see how that do you not see how that encourages more violence and not less? When you come out, yeah, Mike said maybe Israel should stop bulldozing people's homes in the West Bank in Gaza. Yeah, stop taking people's houses and land from them. Mhm. Should stop. What do the 2 flags on your background mean? 2 flags on your background mean. So this is an American flag, and then one of my friends does wood burning, and they put my alma mater, Purdue University, on the American flag, but it's all wood burnt. It's really cool. This is like textured. Anyway, it was a gift. Yeah, so it's like art. Hmm. So it's like all one piece of wood. Mhm. I used to have like 3 of them because he gave me the Colts, Pacers, and Purdue. But I gave them to the kids. They were gifts for my athletes for graduating high school. Um, top. All right, so they are arresting people in mass um, for protesting. But thank you for your question. But yeah, they're arresting people en masse in London. To ban the group Palestine Action. The government proscribed Palestine Action under anti-terrorism legislation in July, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Now, the reason for the stiff reaction to the Palestinian, and again, there are going to be people that are going to give in and that are going to commit acts of violence that are going to destroy property. People are just destructive. But these do not help you achieve your goals. So I want to continue to point out, as someone that is a voracious reader, that there aren't successful movements that are violent. Do you get it? The occupiers leave. The war has a truce and a treaty, and people die for nothing, for no ground gained or lost. What's happening in Gaza is a genocide, is starvation, are war crimes, are crimes against humanity according to the International Criminal Court. And I know there are going to be people that are like, but Jared, you live in the United States. The United States does not support the International Criminal Court. And I said, and will continue to say, we are talking about two different things, like two ships passing in the night. I am saying, if what someone else like Vladimir Putin or Benjamin Netanyahu does in Israel and Russia or in Ukraine, they are going to be culpable per the ICC if their own governments fail to hold them accountable. Both of those people already have ICC charges and can basically not leave their countries. And when they do, to go to a funeral, for example, they have to get special permission to do that without getting arrested. So, do you understand how I know it doesn't feel like, but when you're an international criminal and you can't leave your compound and you have to have a private army, okay, to protect you, to dissuade the peaceful arrest, which is typically, I'm guessing, how the ICC likes to do it. Yep. And it is troubling. It is troubling when you find out, for example, that every elected Republican and all of those Republican influencers were all paid for by Russia. In my eyes, every person that voted for them is a traitor. And all of those elected officials are traitors. And that goes all the way up to Donald Trump and all the way down to the lowest man on the totem pole who don't give a fuck. Cut out their tongues, don't give a shit. The penalty for treason is death. Hmm? No, and here's the trouble. It's the prisoner's dilemma, Gabby. There is no we. Nope. There is no more we. Nope. I'm not grouping myself with this government. I'm not. It's if people can say that they are a non. Um, Easy decision for me. Had someone ask me, yeah, 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 there is no more we. Yeah, there's no we. Okay, we do not have representation. Okay, so yep, and the reason that they're doing it is to avoid accountability. Okay, and so when Mike Johnson comes out and says we lied about Donald Trump being an FBI informant, yeah, that's like one of the first times I've ever seen a Republican just out admit it within a short time frame of having done it. But it's telling. It's telling. It's like Donald Trump's saying like that. In my eyes, Donald Trump's trying to pass that he was an FBI informant off as true is him waving the white flag as saying I'm willing to talk. Hmm. I think it's code in my opinion. Hey, I've watched a lot of television and read a lot of books, and Donald Trump is obsessed with the fact that he's like a mobster. So you would ask Jared, you're supposed to be our barometer. In the United States, when are we supposed to when this starts happening? Right here. When they start arresting peaceful protesters en masse. When they mass ban uh I don't need you to explain yourself at all. And again, the beautiful thing about this is that I'm just going to take a picture of our conversation and let the world decide. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to give you another ounce of my energy. Free Palestine, Slava Ukraine, down with Israel, and down with their supporters. Hmm. If I knew who you were in real life, I'd call your employer. 100%. I'd be very concerned. Hmm. They're intentionally starving them, and they're putting them in concentration camps and then bombing the camps. That's called extermination. Again, all of these things fall under crimes against humanity and are war crimes according to the International Criminal Court. And they already have been charged. I'm already right. They've already been charged for all of those things. And you have the audacity, I'm assuming the caucasity, to say that we are on the same team, but that you disagree. I have no use for you. Absolutely none. You need to rethink your entire position. Hmm. So this is not a me issue, it's a you issue. Get over it quickly, or life is going to be rough because you have blood on your hands, because your tax dollars pay for this. Hmm. Right, right. Of course, you're actually a Palestinian. Right, 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 right. So join the USPCN. Yeah, join the USPCN. Back away slowly. Here's the Israel. Here's Israel. I'm gonna repost the article. Here's Israel's Supreme Court saying this morning that the IDF is starving people intentionally, which to me signals that they're powerless, and they're signaling to the IDF and the powers that be in the rest of the world to do something. And again, I also think Donald Trump saying that he was an FBI informant was him waving the white flag, saying like I need to spill the beans and try to get out of here with as little punishment as possible. Hmm? Yeah, Gaza's been deemed a famine now. So there are no good arguments. None. There are no acceptable arguments since 1948, since its inception. It was created as a terrorist state. When you come out and call everyone else a terrorist, that's because you're a terrorist. Every accusation is a confession. Uh huh. Every single one. And splitting hairs, uh, when it comes to the death of people in Palestine, isn't isn't helping us. I want no one to die, and you just are okay with some. It's where we split hair. We're not splitting hairs anymore. We're not splitting hairs. Nope. Look up Albert Einstein's letter to the New York Post. New York Times. And remember that um, the emergence of the state of Israel from its inception was to appease fascists and Nazis. So here. So if you know this, here's Einstein, 1948, saying, "Hey, this is problematic." So every generation of Israeli is a descendant from people who align with fascists and Nazis. Not an occupying force is the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard. Since their inception, they began as an occupying force. Mm-hmm. And I want to continue to spit Bible. An occupying force or occupying power is a military authority that has asserted effective control over the territory of another state without that state's consent. Now, are they fulfilling the role that they're required to fill as an occupying force? No. Nope. Because there are laws that they're supposed to uphold. They're supposed to keep people alive instead they're killing them. That's called murder. That's called a genocide. Hmm. And people say, well, it's not a genocide. Okay. So we got to talk about the definition of genocide. But for those people that have questions, here's the ICC talking about how it works. And I'm an atheist. So I don't ascribe to any of these religions or these cults. The, I mean, the Trump regime is a death cult. Okay, it's time to stop just saying they're a cult. They 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 raised five red cows in Texas and flew those cows alive. They flew them to Israel to be sacrificed to start the end of times. That's a whole ass political party. Mike Johnson, specifically. And ain't that the most Louisiana shit you've ever heard in your life? That is the most Cajun shit I've ever heard. That is the most voodoo ass shit I have ever heard. As someone that had friends from Louisiana who I love, New Orleans is incredible. God damn it, makes me sad. It was way better before the hurricane. Um, hmm Yeah, yeah. So understand, um, Mike Johnson flew to Israel to witness that ceremony. Like that shit already happened. I'm pretty positive. Did it bring about the end of days? Fucking no. No. There are just flash floods. And it's getting hotter. Yeah. 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 And Donald Trump hides any information that would be damning to him. So think about all of the news that we can't possibly cover, right? As I scroll headlines, right, and try to find. Okay, okay. I don't know if you saw or heard it, but here's what I want to talk about the US Open, okay? Here's the US Open. I don't normally watch tennis. I'm trying to remember why, but if I remember correctly, the tennis professional circuit split, and if I want to remember correctly, it had something to do with the defunding of women's tennis. Or so, I'm wrong, frequently wrong. Have no reason to speak on this, but I was really close friends with a woman that was pretty high up in tennis, dead ass, and I stopped fucking with the sport, and actually, I was even friends in high school with a girl that was really into tennis. Yeah, so tennis was a better part of my life for like a decade. Really, I really mean that. And I'm not talking about as a casual fan. I'm talking about somebody who wore the shit and played the game and loved it. It was a great date, to be honest with you. Um, Hold on. Mike said, was that during the time he went to the Wailing Wall when he gave his biblical speech advocating for more arms for the U.S. last month? Yeah. Hey, hiya, good morning. I had to take a break from politics for somebody. Yeah, I can understand that. He was so mad a white guy didn't win at the U.S. Open. Right. So, I wanted to comment about the U.S. Open. So, I haven't watched tennis in a long time because I don't capitulate to fascists. So, when I heard that Donald Trump was going to be at the U.S. Open, I went from a 0% to a fucking not only no, hell no to watch the U.S. Open. Okay. Uh, I want to first point out that he was mercilessly booed consistently. I heard it. I seen it. I heard it. I saw and heard it. Hmm. He was mercilessly booed consistently through the U.S. Open. He also, when he walked out there and did the little wave, the fucking crowd was empty. It was an empty fucking stadium. I'm just making sure that I use my platform to tell you the truth. Like I saw the his reception and I saw clips over time. He was booed continuously throughout the whole event. It made me more. I think they have to build the temple too. Oh great. Oh great. So they haven't sacrificed the cows. Awesome. Videos up of him eating a Xanny bar and then fell asleep shortly thereafter. Jesus Christ. As someone that's not on medication. Oh shit. So I just want to make sure that I point out that he was booed and continuously throughout the event, and that when he went out there and he was doing that, he was being booed, and the fucking place was empty. Here's video. Yeah, here's video per iNews. Again, I would be using a different. Oh, they did the cow thing already. I want to make sure. I was making sure. I'm one of those people. If I misspeak, I'm fixing it yesterday. So they did sacrifice the cows already, y'all. So they triggered the fucking end times, and then now they got to build a temple to fulfill prophecy. So what sucks is that like there are way too many people that are like, I guess I just got to believe that too. You know what I mean? Wild AF. You better believe it. He's supposed to be going to the Yankees game on 9/11. Remember we've talked about Donald Trump has dementia? Wait. Somebody that watched it a little closer pointed out in the chat that they had him come in while the crowd waited outside. And he went in and waved. Like he was waving to the crowd, but there's no one there. They're all forced to wait outside while he did that. What the fuck? He did it so he wouldn't get shot. Ain't nobody. He ain't getting taken out at a tennis event. But yeah, he's taking credit for infrastructure projects that were funded by Joe Biden that he opposed. UTC said at the Yankees game, oh my God, I'm watching that. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is like people getting priced out to even attending, right? So that's the only thing I would be worried about. Hey, as somebody that actually has attended baseball games in the New York area, uh, going to a Mets game versus going to a New York Yankees game, I paid like $18 for 2 tickets to go to a Mets game. I was gonna say I don't think New York likes him. I think he's I think he's lied about his relationship with entire cities and states because he's a liar. That's what liars do. He doesn't like the kind of people that will be at a baseball game. The president has been nursing a bruise on his right hand for months. Again, I'm asking for the continued support of people that work in medical fields who can try to explain away the bruising on his right hand. What's it from? I think it's from having an IV in, keeping his ass alive. What do you think? Attending 9/11 ceremonies. No, he's going to a baseball game, Gab. Oh, I want to point out something. You know how I know that the president's demented and also stupid? How many currently elected Democrats do you think he could name? Also, Donald Trump has not implicated any currently elected Democrats of having anything to do with the Epstein files. They're usually at night. Mike said I think it's because he's rotten from the core. Yeah. Talking about baseball games? Nah, baseball games have like noon one starts sometimes. Noon, 3, 7. Yeah. But Donald Trump's been hiding a bruise on his. So keep in mind, there are some things that everyone needs to know that should give you fucking hope, right? For example, Donald Trump and this regime's sort of dismissal of the Epstein thing flies in the face of what Republicans want. When they poll Republicans and they ask people that call themselves Republicans, people that this they've just chosen this team and they're just going to be on this team and they're never going to back off from that even when you support a traitor, even when it's genocide, even when it's starvation, even when it's illegal war, even when it's war crimes. You still gonna call yourself Republican? There are people that can never just be like, you know what? It's time to find a new team. That's what I was hoping someone would say. New York City has hated Donald Trump the whole time. Good. That's why he lives in Mar-a-Lago. Remember, Donald Trump claims New York City, but lives in a hotel in Florida called Mar-a-Lago. And I want to continue to point out that he doesn't own the hotel. Uh, it exists despite him. He walks around like Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. He's like a kid. I doubt it. I doubt he's gonna find a way to make it about himself. From what I understand regarding the release of the Epstein files, they have 215 of 218 votes needed, and only four Republicans have signed. That's the last I heard from a political TikToker who hasn't let me down before. So, yeah, lost in New York. Yeah, it's like the slumlord he is. Yep. Um, by the way, many of you will find this awesome. So I've been struggling at work the last 2 weeks. Not enough to be upset. Like a handful of calls are swingy. They could go either way, and that would make me right at normal for the month. So you're okay with having a unimpressive last couple weeks. But the last week of a month and the first week of a month are always rough. I am evidence of that. Um, so one of the trends that I've noticed that makes me happy. The first group of employers, think about this, that we all fucking hate. The first group of employers to ring my bell. Who do you think the first people were to come to tell me I don't want to declare bankruptcy, but I can't handle my debt? Do 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 do. What occupancy that is going to make us all happy is the clear employer. Uh-huh. That's driving people to debt consolidation, bankruptcy. Landlords. That's right. So I've been struggling where they don't want to do business because they don't want to close down all their credit cards because then they don't have a way to keep their slumlord shit afloat. Uh, Even though they're maxed out, they're like, I'm gonna go, scrape money off my fucking tenants and use it to pay my bills. And landlords, hmm the first group of employers, like a group of the first group of people with the same job title. That you keep talking to people over and over and over again. They have the same job title. Landlords. hmm Yep. They're the first kind of wave. Obviously, I don't look forward to talking to federal government employees or veterans or retirees. I want to help them. Landlords, though, part of me is kind of like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing, ding dong. You know what I mean? Like, keep paying that 2 grand. The only problem is it comes at the expense of all of the people they're taking advantage of. hmm And I want to talk about like the financial conversation that I have with landlords. Every one of them is super advantageous for themselves. Every every group of people that every time I talk to a landlord, they are super fast to tell me my mortgage is 989. I charge 3700. And you're like, "What the fuck? How big is this house?" And this is like a 2500 square foot. That's what I live in. Two car garage, 3 bed, 2 bed, 2.5 bath. 3700. What the fuck on $1,000 mortgage? Oh yeah, well with my expenses. And you're like, your expenses? And they're like, yeah, and there's two families living in the house. What? They share a kitchen and a laundry room. Oh my God. Well, no single family could afford to live in this house. No shit. You're charging 4 times your fucking mortgage for rent. So yeah, I cut it in half, and they each pay 1800. And the all that money that he makes off them people he uses to keep himself afloat with his credit cards. Huh? And keep in mind, I've had that conversation like over and over and over again. So I'm not even talking about like one person, and I'm talking to you about this happily, where I'm like, ha ha ha, these motherfuckers are the first ones to feel the squeeze, right? Because they've been squeezing people for money. Hell yeah, hell yeah, and they don't buy. They don't want to do business because they have to close their credit cards. Yep. I say fuck them, right? See, I'm on the other side of it. I'm not bowing to no God, no man, and sure as fuck not some credit card, right? But when you are bent on scumming people out of fucking rent money, you're also the kind of person to like keep paying 2 grand a month in fucking interest. Ding dong. Yeah. hmm Oh, you're not able to save. You can't do any repairs on your own. You have to wait until they pay you 4 times what you fucking owe on that mortgage, so that then you can use that money to fix it up. Like that's fuck them. Yep, yep. There are people like I hope this conversation goes south. Hmm. Oh yeah, and everyone else I want to help. Like I really want to help everyone else, but when somebody's a landlord, I'm like, how can I get you to waste your time and energy and not pull the trigger? Do a little subconscious. At my expense, but those are people that are also quitters. Hmm. When you have to rely on other people for you to survive, you're the kind of person that will also quit if you don't have that, right? We're talking about landlords, and we're specifically talking about them not being able to be a homeowner. So keep that in mind. Think about how frequent that happens. How many hundreds of thousands of people are getting charged out the fucking wazoo? Charged out the fucking wazoo for rent. Can't pay their rent. How many houses are going to go into a foreclosure? And how those houses are going to be bought by the wealthy. And talk about how home ownership rates are going to fucking plummet. Yeah, get all the landlords out. My hope is that the housing market falls completely to shambles and houses are like a fucking dollar and everybody gets a house. That's my dream. Hmm. I hope home values just fucking plummet. I hope I hope interest rates plummet. I hope people just are able to be housed. That's how I feel. I feel like homelessness is a solvable fucking problem. I feel like we have more houses than we do homeless people. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people that weren't meant to be confined. They could still just have a piece of land, you know? Slumlord is also a thing. Yeah, yeah. Now, here's the thing. I wanted to make sure that we differentiate between multiple homeowner and landlord, okay? Because I have met one person in my whole life that was a multiple homeowner that was not a fucking landlord. And that was my wife's Uncle Terry. And Terry was in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And when Terry came home from the Marine Corps, he had some money, and Terry bought himself a house and paid that house off lickety split. And then he bought his sister a house. And then he bought his sister's kids a house when they got older. And then you know what I mean? He bought people houses and didn't charge them rent. Nope. And then he would like build a business nearby, and you can run that, live in this house. Hmm? Set up multiple, probably a half a dozen or more people with a place to live, and even gave them something to do. Hmm? That is not a landlord. That was a multiple homeowner and multiple business owner. Hmm? And probably the most successful person I've ever met in my entire fucking life. Most people aren't even fucking close to that. Having owned anywhere from like 6 to 20 houses at a time, owning like half a dozen functioning businesses without falling to the only thing he was a chain smoker. He's stressed out all the time. Hmm? Yep. But otherwise, never met another person ever where Christmas the kids wanted to make sure that we got something for Uncle Terry. And Uncle Terry, when I went to Uncle Terry's house and I looked at Uncle Terry's knickknacks, because everybody has knickknacks, he has some nice ass knickknacks. Some priceless fucking knickknacks. Where'd you get them priceless fucking knickknacks? Ah, my grandkids. Spending some real fucking coin on Grandpa, huh? Love to fucking see it. It's because he's like a good dude. You know that like when you went to Grandpa's house where Grandpa lived, fenced in yard, little ass yapping ass dog, and a swing set. Hmm. And a sandbox. Hmm. He was okay. Let them kids fucking play. Like, what's, you know what I mean? Very few people I've met in my life that when you get to know who they are, you actually like them. I actually fuck with Terry. Yeah. Bob said I like Terry. Yeah, I liked Terry too. He chain smoked and he was on oxygen, and I kept telling Terry I was an assaultman in the Marine Corps. This means I understand explosives, dumbass, and you are a walking fucking time bomb, Terry. And he's like, why? Is it because I chain smoke? I'm like, I smoke cigarettes too, you dipshits, because you're lugging around a fucking oxygen tank. And he's like, oh, it's closed off. Who's not taking any fucking chances? But yeah, all construction has stopped in South Carolina. Immigrants are all off sites, and there is no inventory here right now. Ugh. Mm, mm, mm. Now, I feel bad for uh, like small business owners that are home builders. Don't necessarily feel bad for the giant conglomerate Ryan Homes that like builds entire neighborhoods. Nah, I'm not pro that. Boom boom Terry. Yeah. Yep. I would talk to Terry from minimum 20 feet. Hey, what's going on, Terry? You're like, yeah, come over here. Like, nope. Love you. Yeah, I'm not standing danger close. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. Uh huh. If he was at the pool, sitting poolside, I was on the other end of the pool. Thinking about rolling into that fucking pool, too. You know what I mean? Just anticipating it. The Florida Surgeon General admits that he banned vaccines on vibes, by the way. Excuse me. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The leopards eat face party is fully eating leopard face. Yeah. COVID. Wear a fucking mask. Stay at home. They don't understand. Next time they have to pay their roof replacement costs 70 to 100 grand. One out of 49 people have it in the South. Damn. 45 racks for a new roof. See, I might have to get a new roof, and that makes me like, oh shit. I'm gonna get a quote for a roof. I'll let you know. 45 racks is insane. And I hate to see it, man. People, this is why I tell people every day, you have to get rid of your credit cards and your unsecured debt. We can cut your payments in more than half. We could have you out of debt in the next few years. You could save all that money up all that time and then just pay with cash from now on. It's you can do it. It's just people are so used to living above and beyond their wildest dreams and means, and credit cards are a trap. And I try to talk to people every day at work. This is what I do at work every day is tell people, think about what you could do with the extra $1,000 a month in your pocket, 500 bucks a month in your pocket. And this is after all the bills are paid. Hey, that's the same kind of talk about universal income. What if you just got paid an extra 500 bucks every Friday? How would your life be? Would you keep doing what you're doing? Cuz again, I was on active duty in the Marine Corps infantry during a time of war and I showed up for work every day. Just like I show up here every day. Gave us COVID 3 times. Yeah. Yeah. So my wife sits behind glass at work, and I work from home. So yeah, when COVID hit, I went to my insurance agent because I'm a risk manager. That that's literally my like life title. Everything I've done is with the intent of mitigating risk. I felt like I was personally in danger. I lost 100 pounds and joined the Marine Corps Infantry. Right, surround myself with dangerous fucking people. That way I don't feel so unsafe anymore. Because it's really been the last like 20 years has been like the weaponization of whiteness. I don't know if I ever talk about that enough, but um, a lot of people have made a lot of assumptions about me as a person as a result of my resume. You can imagine how if you find out that someone is, they were in Boy Scouts, they were in the military, they went to a college in the Midwest, that they are very Midwestern, that they are very middle of the road conservative, very politically ignorant, right? That's the presumption. But yeah, when I caught wind of COVID, I went to my insurance agent, and they said, do no job that won't let you work from home. If you still have to travel for work, that industry is going to die, and you need to get out of it. Even if you're making more money now, if you can't just work from home when there's a fucking pandemic, get out of that industry. Debt is exploding in the United States. The cost of goods is rising. The average income is falling because jobs are not covering job losses. So that means the average income in the United States is falling and debt is exploding. And I don't want people to fall victim to the government and just declare bankruptcy. One of the most disheartening things that I've learned is that the more debt you have, the more you cannot afford to declare bankruptcy. And so they're kind of stuck doing what they're doing. And a lot of people feel like there's no way out, and I represent the put that down. You don't need bankruptcy either. We could just cut your payments in half, get you out of debt in the next few years, stop paying these people, stop talking to them, stop using their products, and let us negotiate with them. Mm-hmm. We'll even show you the negotiated terms. Mm-hmm. That way you kind of feel like you have a hand in it all. Yeah. And ultimately, like, let's get away from these people because they're doing you the most harm. It's just, think about this. If you have $1,000 in credit card payments a month, minimum payments on these credit cards are like 80% interest. So that means, if you have $1,000 in credit card payments, that's $800 a month in interest. Only a couple $100 is actually hitting your principal. That's why you feel like you're never getting out of debt. That interest is your main problem. hmm That's what I tell people all day, every day. But I also like personally mean it. I really do mean this. I have spent my whole life working, right? Uh, 30 years. My dad, when I was 12 years old, my dad started a landscaping company where we put in synthetic putting greens, and I was used as the hard labor, and then my dad didn't pay me. That's what I will remember, that we put in like 13 fucking putting greens and made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I didn't get a dime. That's what I'll remember. So when my dad came while I was on active duty and bought me a car, you goddamn right I let him pay for it too. What the fuck you talking about, right? So I've been working for 30 fucking years, right? Most of the people that I talk to live paycheck to paycheck. When they when they're about to get paid, they have no money. But I get paid tomorrow and I'll have money. And how long will you have money? Well, I have bills due. Oh, so I'm going to have nothing in a few days. And people get stuck in that cycle where they have no savings. All their Once they pay their bills, there's not enough left to cover the rising cost of living. And don't forget that I told you the socialist economic theory says that rent, interest, and taxes are derivative of your labor and should be eliminated. So if you call yourself a socialist, pro equality, pro union, want everybody to have universal health care, education, income, and housing, how do we get to socialism? Stop paying interest. Do not pay taxes when you do not feel represented. This means if you're a woman in this country right now, you should not be paying federal taxes because there's no way you feel represented. Right? So I would say the same thing to a veteran. I pay federal taxes typically because my federal taxes are like over $1,500 a month. So that's a lot. I'm just gonna go ahead and let them have it. So because there's no way I could save an extra 15,000 or some shit. It's 18 grand. Never do that. Money's too tight. There's a reason. There's a whole money is the reason for everything, right? But one thing I would never do is intentionally get COVID again. I would never put myself in that situation ever the fuck again. That means like when I go somewhere, I'm driving. hmm Long distance, probably renting a car. hmm Yep. Now the way I work, my dad told me when I was a little kid, if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it once. Okay. So what I've been telling people for what is today? The 8th of the month. So in 4 days, I think we started on December 12th, by the way, if you're keeping track at home. In 4 days, in 4 days it'll be 10 months, right? Because you go January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So on October 12th will be 10 months. So in 4 days it'll be 9 months. Okay? We've been telling people stop using Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter. The reason is because they are tracking you, they're putting you on a list, you are giving them your location, and you are telling them what you are doing and what you like and don't like, and they are putting you on a list and in a box and in a container and eventually in a cage. And it's the same thing. That's what I see when it comes to things like people's debt. I see it as a prison sentence, a life sentence that we can otherwise commute and get out of and go back to living like a normal life and saving up our money and spending it more wisely. Yep. And the group of people that does not understand this, landlords, they don't get it because they have to extract value out of their tenant. Otherwise, they're going to have to give up that property. And the problem and again, I want to point out that I'm not happy. I'm not happy when people can't afford their houses anymore and have to sell them suddenly and downsize. I don't want that. That's happening. That's already happening. And who's buying those houses? Big real estate, right? driving the cost of living up, right? I'm all for a general strike. I have 2 days saved up, and my days off are scattered, so I should be able to participate in a general strike. For 3 days. Yep. And that's what you gotta mentally prepare yourself for. Is there's gonna be a time come when the smartest thing that we can do is shut it the fuck down. All of it. So I am an advocate. So not only am I an advocate for stopping using all of these applications that are tracking you, uh, stop paying interest to these companies that are facilitating genocide, starvation, um, that these companies like Google, for example, people like BlackRock. Yep, I pulled my money out of private equity and I'm going to invest traditionally through a savings account. I might pick up a mutual fund, but I'm going to box it the fuck in. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell them who we're investing in. Okay? And ultimately, I encourage you, if you haven't ever done this shit before, is to open an investment portfolio. It's better. You're gonna make money. You're gonna make more than the average, and we watch enough news that we have our own sort of insider trading. If that's really what you were about, I think that the stock market is a scam. Your credit score is a scam. I care about what's going on in your house in a not in an invasive way. They better shut the government down too. Yeah, the only problem with that is that kind of suits what Donald Trump wants. Is he doesn't want to be held accountable. But we talked about Politico talking about Scott Bessent at one point threatening to punch top housing finance official Bill Pulte in the fucking face. Is Bill Pulte the CEO of Pulte Homes? And keep in mind those big home builders, those Ryan Homes, they want these corporations buying these houses because they'll pay the mortgage. Computers don't fuck up. People do. People make mistakes and they don't get paid. hmm Trump's breaking Social Security. This is after snap cuts. We've been talking about this for months. This is not a surprise. All those snap cuts that happened in from July 1 went into effect. There's people out there that have been relying on food stamps that are no longer able to rely on food stamps. Now, one of the things that I will say, I've never felt like food stamps was good enough. I think we just need universal income. $500 every Friday, a flat $500 sounds way better. hmm hmm I don't give a fuck what you do with it. Pay a bill, buy a lottery ticket. Don't care. Yep. I think you should get paid just to be here. Yep. Because again, when I was on active duty, I was under socialism. I was living under socialism. I didn't have to pay for health care, education. They gave me a paycheck to come to work. They gave me a house. Didn't have to pay for it or the bills associated. And what did we do? We tried not to become complete pieces of shit. I became like a tourist. I went around and looked at shit and learned stuff, right? A lot of guys drank a lot and sat in the barracks a lot and didn't have a car and didn't feel like going out. And for a lot of people, service is heavy. They don't wear it well. Sorry, I feel like I have hair in my mouth. It's driving me fucking crazy. This doesn't normally happen. So, which is fine. I have animals. I'm willing to accept it. And I'm also a hairy man. Yeah, in case you didn't notice. This is not painted on. Um, but yeah, The primary reason that and again, this is my plea, the primary reason that I think we need universal income is because I've never seen people fully live until they're fed. 3 meals a day. One of the things about being on active duty that keeps guys on active duty is because they didn't have to rely on anyone to make sure that they got 3 fucking meals a day. And that the most capable you'll ever be is having eaten fully every day. And I'm a big man. I'm 6'4". I weigh almost 300 pounds. I carry it well. Why? Because I'm fed and have been fed. And I have focused on taking care of my needs. That is getting 8 hours of sleep a night. The science says we need 9. So you probably need to take a nap. You're just being a bitch. I say that to myself too. Okay? You need to drink water, aka you gotta find a way to process clean water that isn't this nasty shit that's not in a plastic bottle. So you're not, if you buy a bottle of water every day, you're contributing to the fucking problem. Everything that I drink is out of a metal container that I clean between uses and has been. A Tervis. Like this. This is metal. I'm not drinking out of plastic anymore. I try not to eat off of plastic. Yeah. Now I get it. The alternative is glass, and it's like, no, there's others. There's others. Make your own. You know, the older I get, the more I'm like, holy shit, we could have just been living on our own, right? We could have just built, uh, grow a garden. If you need to trade, you could just trade your what produces for the stuff you need, right? You need to put solar panels up, wind power, water power. I don't give a fuck what you do, but you have to make it so that if the grid fails, that it doesn't affect you. That you have backup power. Again, another big group of people that I've been talking to recently, and keep in mind, the people that sign up for my service are the same kind of people that put up solar panels. How do I know that? Because I have a lot of conversations with people that have financed solar panels. And the best part about it is that's not a secured loan. And that means that you paid $42,000 for that and now you're going to pay more like 20. Great investment. How's it doing for you? Oh, I don't have to pay an electric bill, but I have to pay a connection fee. How much is that? $16 to $50 a month. But you're not paying hundreds of dollars a month for electricity and you don't have to worry about spikes. No. In fact, frequently they have to pay us. Why? Because we generate more electricity than we use, so we are contributing to the grid. Oh, well, more people should do that. Yes. Yeah, more people should buy solar panels and not only produce enough power for your house, but produce enough to contribute to the grid. I wouldn't, if I was able to produce my own power and I wasn't required to be connected to the grid, which you aren't legally required to be connected to the grid. You can or can't. That's the way I've talked to people all over the country that are like, well, we chose to connect to the grid because we were generating more power than our house required and we were in a position to be able to sell it back. So understand there's going to be people that don't. We have all these metal cups. My wife buys a case of water when grocery shopping. So what we did was we changed to a Brita. We just replace a filter once a month or two. Yep. So it filters your tap into filtered drinkable water right? And then we every time we buy groceries, we buy another filter, so we just have a drawer full of filters. hmm So as long as that faucet, when you turn it on, as long as water comes out it, I can get potable, drinkable water out of that, and I got decades worth of water filters, so I'm keyed up. As long as I got water flow, I can clean it. And if I have any questions about its drinkability, you can just boil that water, strain that water, and then run. You could run it back through your Brita filter, the Brita pot filter. I've tasted something a little off about my water, even going through a filter once, and I've double filtered after boiling, just because I was concerned. COVID, right? Yep. Built in. I love it. I see a bunch of people are like, I've built in fridge with a water filter. Great. Stop buying bottled water. Metal water cup. hmm Drink fucking water. Water is the spice of life. It's the thing you got to have. I drink Crystal Light, the little 5 calorie thing. So I get like a little cherry, a little um, whatever. It's probably terrible for me. I would drink the little low calorie water flavorers on ice all day. Yep. Start with coffee, switch to that. I eat Factor meals. So this isn't an ad for Factor. I just actually eat Factor meals for lunch before work. Yep. Only thing you gotta worry about salt in it. It creates very little trash, um, as opposed to buying groceries. hmm And I would still get Factor meals because they're about $50 a week for lunch. And it's like that is so much less than you would spend eating out. hmm So it's about saving your money, limiting your trash output, right? When I forget to take the trash out, it's not debilitating. We don't create a lot of waste. Our waste, we take in waste once per week, and that waste leaves once per week. So I'm just trying to give everyone better ideas of how to do it the whole way around, right? It's not just about a change in government, right? I kept that letter from Albert Einstein to the New York Times up the whole episode. Anyway, thanks, Mike. Play a little bit of Eat the Rich. Have a fantastic Monday. Don't let Monday get you down, right? Yeah. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate you being here. We had like over 20 people on YouTube. We had a few, I think two, three in on TikTok, so that's growing too. Remember, never really worried about the numbers, right? I'm just glad to be here with y'all. Had to clean out all the plastic bottles in her car. You gotta explain to her that she's full of plastic. You know what I mean? She'll stop drinking out of plastic when you tell her that she's full of plastic.